And we now have our Aby Agina here in studio to talk to us about just what happened and how did these numbers rise by 661%. Aby, thank you very much for joining us. Maybe you can tell us, are these numbers, is that 25.7 billion shilling loss shocking to you as someone in the business team?
Yes, Betty. 29.71 billion shillings. This is money that can actually build another superhighway equivalent to Thika Road. But let's look at what's been ailing KQ. If you take a quick look at some of the numbers from 2011, KQ was performing pretty well. It posted a profit after tax of 3.5 billion shillings. The next year, 2012, it also performed well. It did 1.6 billion shillings. But this is when the rain started beating Kenya Airways. In 2013, they made a loss of 7.8 billion shillings. This, of course, was attributed to increased operational costs. This is the year we saw KQ retrenching some of its staff, as well as KQ at this time embarked on a project known as Project Mawingu, which is basically aimed at raising the airline's fleet size. And they actually increased the fleet size. They were getting 8 Dreamliners, Betty. And would you care to know how much one Dreamliner costs?
That would be interesting.
Yes, one Dreamliner costs 15 billion shillings, Betty. And they actually bought 8 of them. They've been delivered over the course of time. 2014, they also made a loss of 3.4 billion shillings. And now we're talking about 29.71 billion shillings. But this is not really good news for shareholders, knowing very well that KQ stock today has been trading, it's actually gone down by 12% on its stock price in early trading, according to the numbers we looked at today earlier on in the day, Betty.
You know, earlier on we mentioned that, you know, they've secured a 20 billion shillings bridge loan with the African Exim Bank, is that right?
Correct.
How will this help? I mean, is this the only way, or, you know, the best alternative or option right now for KQ?
Good question, Betty. If you look at some of the dynamics that have bedeviled the national carrier, it's beyond this amount of the bailout. I was actually talking to one of the analysts earlier on, and he was saying the 20 billion shillings is almost like a drop in the ocean, because KQ is experiencing significant turbulence when it comes to its operational costs. They're spending too much on their wage bill, they're spending too much on their fleet expansion strategy, and all this, of course, it was planned for, but it's not yet clear really as to what got them into this, because it had been having very good cash flow numbers, but right now the cash flow has been a bit shaky to a point that we've seen a lot of issues happening with KQ. We've seen about a year ago we saw some of the air hostesses actually going on strike over the issue around retrenchment. So what are the options that KQ has as of now, Betty? Basically better financial management, and also they might reconsider their plan on expanding their fleet size, because they've acquired new aircrafts, but they're not hitting the airline when it comes to them rushing and getting in the passengers, Betty.
Aby, from where you sit, you know, you mentioned that, you know, a few years ago they went on a retrenching spree, like many people called it. Are we likely also to see that also being another option for them right now?
That's a tricky question, Betty. For now, I cannot really take a position on that. But of course, our team is working to get more details from the managers at KQ, who will be updating us on what actions they will be taking, which includes retrenchment and also just scaling down on its employees, where we are seeing a pilot is earning almost 1.8 million to 1.5 million shillings, Betty. So for now, we can't really categorically say that they can consider retrenchment, but it's an option that you can also not dismiss as well, Betty.
Right. You know, apart from the African Exim Bank, are we likely to see, you know, the government also stepping in? We know that, you know, they had, you know, they were in the process of doing that, but, you know, right now it's sort of like crunch time. Are we likely to see that happening? Well,
it's sort of a wait and see kind of situation, because the government has already been an active shareholder in KQ. As you know, KQ is also co-owned by KLM, which is based in the UK. So for the government, it's more of a wait and see, and just trying to analyze what is really ailing the airline, because they don't want to commit money which they are not sure whether it will turn around the airline from loss making to profit making, Betty. So it's an option that the government can pursue, but it is too early to actually give a definite answer regarding whether there will be some government intervention or not. The other thing, Betty, also to look at is other airlines in the region. Competition has stiffened up. We're seeing Gulf Airlines coming across. We're seeing Ethiopian Airlines. We're seeing airlines from Qatar, and all this has sort of affected KQ. The other biggest issue that also affected KQ was the issue around the Ebola issue, where the West African circuit was significantly affected. Revenues from that side fell well over 10%, Betty. So it has been a trend that some factors are within control of KQ, some factors are really not within their control, Betty. So we are likely not to see a bailout, but still, it's still too early, Betty. It's still too early to talk about that. Let's move on to, the people who are, going to be, how can I put it, like the customers, at the end of the day, it's all about the service provision. And, many people, especially when this news broke on Twitter, they went saying that, KQ, in terms of service, customer service, it has really gone down. They're not as good as they used to be. The kind of, food that's served on the planes is not as good as it used to be. How will they, even if they get that bailout, even from the Africa Exim Bank, if they're able to, move from where they are right now, how will they be able to restore customer confidence with all this turbulence that is, hitting them right now? Good question, Betty. If you look at KQ, it has won several awards when it comes to service delivery. It's actually one of the, they call themselves the pride of Africa, something which is debatable, but either way, one of the other biggest things going forward, Betty, will be a relook as to the customer service. We've seen a number of complaints coming through regarding the airline, and even if you check out social media, we're seeing a hashtag KQ rebounds. We've also seen a lot of comments coming out from Kenyans on Twitter saying that the airline has been not doing the best it could when it comes to customer service. Of course, this we cannot really verify as of now, because we haven't received any major issue from KQ commenting about the issue around customer service. But as you've rightly said, Betty, customer service is critical in the aviation industry. If you look at some airlines, they really pride themselves on that. Airlines like Etihad, airlines like Qatar, airlines like Brussels Airlines, because they know customer is king. I don't know if the same scenario still applies to KQ, but it's of course a topic that they need to sit down and go back to the drawing board and see how can we turn around KQ from where it is. And we've seen even some analysts saying that the CEO there, Buvi Gunze, is a man who is quite determined to turn around the company. Of course, he was the former chief operating officer of the airline, and this man has actually done quite a lot for the airline in his capacity. He took over from Titus Naikuni, who was also one of the longest serving CEOs of the airline, who delivered the Dreamliners, Betty. So it's a question of customer service, handling the costs, and some of the costs include even fuel costs, which have actually hit the airline quite hard, Betty. So customer service remains very critical for them to address if they're to turn around their fortunes, Betty. Aby, maybe finally, let's talk a little bit about Jambo Jet. It was, like sort of like a breath of fresh air into that particular airline. Are we likely to see it, kind of like supporting the main airline service, especially during this turbulent times, like I mentioned? Well, Betty, Jambo Jet, if you look at the numbers, they have been actually doing quite well in terms of the domestic flights within the country. So Jambo Jet for now is a key revenue driver for the airline, the bigger Kenya Airways family. And if you look at the travel patterns of Kenyans, we've seen a lot of people using these budget airlines to travel from Nairobi to Mombasa, people traveling to Eldoret, people traveling to the sides of Kakamega, and they've actually been expanding on their routes. So it's a good thing for the airline that one of its flagship brands as well is not doing very bad, but of course there's still competition in that niche, Betty, which has been tightening up. So going forward, Jambo Jet still is important for them, and even just looking at issues around the cost of air travel, if this can be addressed, they are likely to make a serious comeback, Betty. So it's too early to rule out that KQ cannot recover from the turbulence. As you've said, they are flying now in, should I say, a turbulent territory, but as they keep on saying that they will maneuver the storms and they will bring the company back to profitability, Betty.
All right. There's no better way to finish. Aby, thank you very much. Aby Agina, they are joining us from Studio B, just talking to us about the turbulent times, like he mentioned, of Kenya Airways. Like we are reporting, they have recorded a 25.7 billion shillings loss. Quite a record-breaking number. People have called it mind-boggling loss. A 661% increase from last year, where they just recorded a 3.4 billion shillings. And people thought, you know, that's it. But today, they of course, announced another major loss. But like Aby said, we hope for the best for the pride of Africa as we know it.